Let me tell you about Jordan Lee, 37 years old. Chief Product Officer at Nexus Digital, a SaaS company building enterprise workflow automation tools for mid-market financial services firms. Not a flashy product, not a consumer brand, but the kind of platform that, once embedded into a client's operations, became as essential as electricity. Jordan was the reason it worked. In 6 years as CPO, she had taken Nexus from a clunky MVP with 3 enterprise clients to a product suite serving 140 firms across 9 countries, generating $87 million in annual recurring revenue. She had built the product roadmap, led the engineering and design teams, personally managed the enterprise feedback loops that turned client complaints into features that locked in renewals at 96%. She had also, in year 3, during a compensation negotiation where the board was trying to retain her with an equity refresh she correctly identified as inadequate, negotiated something specific into her employment agreement. A product vision clause. It stated that in the event of Jordan's departure, voluntary or involuntary, any product roadmap, feature architecture, or a strategic development plan she had authored or co-authored during her tenure remains subject to her creative rights review for 18 months, meaning Nexus could not commercially deploy any roadmap item she had originated without either her active involvement or her written sign-off. The board agreed because the clause sounded administrative. It wasn't. And on the Monday morning that Nexus's new CEO, Victor Strand, 14 months in, background in financial services sales, 0 product experience, called Jordan into his office and told her the company was moving in a new product direction and her role was being eliminated, Jordan nodded, thanked him for the clarity, went home, and opened the product roadmap she had built for the next 24 months. Every single item on it was hers, every feature, every integration. Every strategic initiative Nexus's enterprise clients had been promised and were waiting for. All of it subject to her creative rights review. All of it, without her sign-off, commercially undeployable. Victor had just eliminated the only person who could legally greenlight Nexus's entire product future. And when Nexus's head of engineering called Jordan 6 weeks later, voice tight, clearly under pressure, to ask if she'd be willing to consult on a few roadmap items, Jordan already knew what that conversation was really about. She had been waiting for it. This is the story of how one termination created a product standstill threatening $87 million in ARR, and how the woman they eliminated named her own price for coming back. Buckle up, because this one isn't about a clause. It's about what happens when you fire the person who owns the map. It started 14 months before Jordan's termination. When Victor Strand arrived as CEO, he came from the sales side of financial services, a man who understood pipelines and enterprise deal structures better than most. What he did not understand was product. Not really. He understood product as a sales tool, as a demo, as a promise made to close a deal. He did not understand it as a living system, the intricate architecture of decisions and dependencies that made enterprise software actually work over time. Jordan had tried to bridge that gap. 12 briefings in his first 6 months, simplified roadmap presentations. Every product conversation framed in language she knew he understood. Victor nodded along, used the right words in board meetings, then made decisions that told Jordan very clearly that the nodding was performance. He pushed for features enterprise clients hadn't asked for because they looked impressive in demos. He deprioritized the infrastructure investments Jordan knew were low-bearing. He overrode 2 of her hiring decisions for senior engineering roles, replacing her candidates with people from his own network. Jordan documented every concern, sent written summaries after every major disagreement, kept copies in her personal archive. Not because she was planning anything, because she was a product person. And product people document everything. Now, if you believe that the person who builds the map always knows the territory better than the person who reads it, subscribe to Tangled Stories. I'm Brett. Around here, the ones who document everything always win. The termination meeting was Monday morning, Victor's office. Chief People Officer Dinah Walsh present. Jordan, we're realigning the product function to better reflect our go-to-market priorities. We've decided to restructure the CPO role and move to a more distributed product leadership model. Is this without cause? Jordan asked. Organizational restructuring, Victor said. Not performance. Diana slid the termination packet across. 12 weeks severance. COBRA. Non-disparagement. No mention of the product vision clause. No acknowledgement. No waiver. Just a clean packet from a legal team that had not read her full employment agreement. Jordan picked it up. I'll have my attorney review and respond within 5 business days, she said. She stood. shook hands, and walked out with the specific calm of someone who had just been handed a problem they already knew how to solve. Her attorney Rachel Kim, who had helped draft the product vision clause 3 years earlier, read the termination packet that evening. They didn't address the clause, Rachel said. I know, Jordan said. They may not know it exists, Rachel said. They will, Jordan said. Rachel's letter went to General Counsel Thomas Obey on Friday morning. It outlined the product vision clause in full. It noted that the current Nexus product roadmap, all 27 items scheduled for commercial deployment in the next 18 months, had been authored or co-authored by Jordan and were subject to her creative rights review. It closed with one paragraph Thomas read 3 times. Without Ms. Lee's written sign-off on each roadmap item, commercial deployment of any feature, integration, or product initiative originating from her authorship constitutes a breach of her contractual creative rights. This includes all items currently in development, in staging, or scheduled for client release. Thomas pulled up Jordan's employment agreement, found the product vision clause, called Victor. I need you in my office, now. Victor arrived expecting a routine update. Read the product vision clause, Thomas said. Victor read it. Confusion. Comprehension. Dread. So we work around it, Victor said. Build new features she didn't touch. Thomas pulled up the roadmap. Which ones? He asked. Victor went through them. Item 1. Jordan's. Item 2. Jordan's. Items 4 through 19. Jordan's. Items 20 through 27. Originated from strategic planning sessions Jordan had led. All of them? Victor said. Every commercially significant item in the next 18 months, Thomas said. The 3 she didn't originate are infrastructure patches. Not client-facing. Not revenue-generating. What happens if we deploy anyway? Victor asked. Injunctive relief, Thomas said. A court order preventing deployment. In the middle of a release cycle, with enterprise clients waiting, that's an existential problem. 3 enterprise clients had contractual commitments tied to specific roadmap items Jordan had personally promised during renewal conversations. 2 had termination rights if features didn't deploy on schedule, combined ARR at risk, $14 million. Victor stared at the ceiling. We need to call Jordan, he said. The call came from Diana, not Victor, which told Jordan everything about how the power has shifted. Jordan, we'd like to explore a consulting arrangement. There are some roadmap items we'd love your input on. Jordan had been expecting this call for 6 weeks. She had used those weeks well, meeting with 2 enterprise clients who had called her directly when word of her departure spread, learning exactly how dependent Nexus's renewal pipeline was on her roadmap. She knew what her sign-off was worth. I'm open to a conversation, Jordan said. Have Thomas call Rachel with a proposed scope. Diana paused. Could you give us a sense of what you'd be looking for? Thomas and Rachel, Jordan said pleasantly. That's where this conversation lives. Nexus's opening position. 60-day consulting agreement, standard rate, clean and contained. Jordan's final terms, delivered through Rachel. 1. Consulting agreement for the full 18-month duration of the product vision clause. 2. Rate of $40,000 per week, reflecting fractional CPO market value plus the creative rights premium her sign-off represented. 3. Equity reinstatement. Unvested equity lapsed upon termination, restored on an accelerated 12-month vesting schedule. 4. Named credit on all product releases she signed off on, internally and in client-facing documentation. 5. Formal board acknowledgement that the restructuring had eliminated a role foundational to Nexus's product integrity and that the product vision clause had been valid and enforceable throughout. 6. First right of refusal if Nexus sought to fill a CPO role within the 18-month period. Thomas brought the terms to Victor. $40,000 a week, Victor said. That's over $2 million a year. What's the alternative? Thomas asked. 18 months of building nothing commercially significant, Thomas continued, while 2 enterprise clients exercise termination rights and the rest of the market watches your release schedule go quiet. Victor picked up the pen. Jordan signed her consulting agreement on a Thursday afternoon. The first week's payment hit her account 7 days later. She delivered her first roadmap sign-off package the following Monday. 14 items, fully annotated. Her engineering team described the documentation, quietly and with some relief, as the clearest product guidance they had ever received. The 3 enterprise clients with contractual release commitments received their features on schedule. No termination rights were exercised. The 96% renewal rate held. Over 18 months, Jordan's engagement generated $3.12 million in consulting fees. Full equity reinstatement, worth $2.4 million at Nexus's current valuation. Named product credit on 31 releases. And one moment, at month 14, where Victor Strand, in a board meeting Jordan attended as a consultant, described the product vision clause as one of the most sophisticated contractual mechanisms I've encountered in my career. Jordan wrote it down and smiled. Victor Strand left Nexus at the end of the consulting period. Diana Walsh restructured the people function, mandatory employment agreement review before any senior separation, legal sign-off required on all clause imputations. Thomas Obi implemented a clause registry, every non-standard provision in every senior employment agreement, cataloged and flagged before any personnel decision that might trigger it. He called it, internally, the Lee Protocol. Jordan heard about it at a mutual colleagues' dinner 6 months later, raised her glass, said nothing, because she had already moved on. Meridian Product Partners, her boutique CPO advisory firm, had launched quietly during month 3 of the consulting period. By the time the Nexus engagement ended, it had 7 clients, a waiting list, and a standard engagement agreement that every client's legal team flagged for one specific provision. A clause Jordan had written herself. Her clients always asked about it. She always explained it the same way. It means that if you ever decide my work isn't worth what I built for you, the contract will remind you that it is. They always laughed. Like it was a joke. It wasn't. And that, my friends, is how one CPO turned a Monday morning termination into a $5.52 million engagement. Without a lawsuit, without a leak, and without once raising her voice above professional, because some people get fired. And some people get fired and realize the map they drew is the only one the company has. Jordan knew which one she was. Victor found out 6 weeks too late. If this story lit up your justice receptors, subscribe to Tangled Stories, drop a like, and share this with every product leader who has ever been told their role is being restructured. Because here, every story has a twist. And sometimes that twist costs $40,000 a week. I'm Brett, and I'll see you in the next one.